There are millions of great games out there, but today I'm here to talk about the select few incredible games that unfortunately fell under the radar. These are all great games that are super underrated and deserve to be played. Hopefully you find some hidden gems in here that you might not have considered before. I'll be listing them in order of how great they are and not necessarily on which is more underrated than the other. Before we get too deep, please like and subscribe, it really helps me out. Now sit back and enjoy my top 10 underrated games.
Number 10.
Let's start things off with a genre that I'm not normally all that big on. I've never been a big first-person shooter guy, but every once in a while there comes a game that I can't help but love. Titanfall 2 is one of those games. Despite never playing the first game, as a lover of mechs I had to get Titanfall 2 when it came on PlayStation Plus for free. I was not disappointed. This game was so awesome. The gameplay was tight, the mech designs were badass, and the story was incredibly well done. I had so much fun playing this game despite sucking ass at FPS games. The way that you could get your mech to toss you places, run on walls, and just all the platforming and combat in general was so well done. In fact, this game reminded me of Vanquish, but this time you can pilot a mech.
Number 9.
Speaking of Vanquish, this game is the punk rock of third-person shooters. Vanquish oozes style and intensity. You're in a supersuit that's designed to hunt and destroy an army of mechs. The combat in this game is chaotic in all the right ways and controlled so well despite having so many fresh ideas. I love sliding across the ground, pumping bullets into my opponents while sparks are flying from my supersuit. This game has a lot of the great features that Titanfall 2 does, but edges it out just barely based on its cool factor alone.
Number 8.
As a huge Sonic fan, I don't understand why Sonic Generations is constantly overlooked. This game has its own unique story where modern Eggman and classic Robotnik team up to take down Sonic in both timelines, taking all the best stages from pretty much every Sonic game up to that point and remaking them all in HD as well as classic format. This game is like a greatest hits of the entire franchise. Despite not controlling exactly like classic Sonic, the classic remakes of the modern games bring the biggest smile to my face. And the music. God damn the music! If you're a Sonic fan or have ever enjoyed a Sonic game, I highly recommend checking out this fantastic game that encompasses the entire franchise up to this point.
Number 7.
Imagine an open-world sandbox game where you play as a resistance member in France during the Nazi occupation in the Second World War. Well, that's exactly what the Saboteur is. This game has a great original story and a massive interactive world where almost everything you do makes a difference. You can destroy Nazi bases, watchtowers, and even take down their giant flying zeppelins. It takes a lot for me to get into these Grand Theft Auto style open world games, but the Saboteur is one of the best. There's so much to explore, so many characters to help out and interact with, and so many ways to thwart the Nazi occupation. I can't recommend this game enough, even if you aren't normally a big fan of this kind of game.
Number 6.
Suda51, the Quentin Tarantino of video games, teaming up with the creators of Resident Evil 4 and the guy who does the music for the Silent Hill games, Shadows of the Damned is probably one of my favorite horror games of all time. It's got the perfect blend of horror, action, and humor. Your weapon is actually a demon named Johnson who was cursed and banished from the City of the Damned. It's up to you as Garcia the Demon Hunter to enhance your Johnson and rescue the love of your life from the clutches of evil. The atmosphere and enemies really set the eerie tone this game gives off, but at the same time it has that Evil Dead-like sense of humor. In fact, if you look hard enough, the house from the Evil Dead is actually in the game. Everything about this game is really well done, making you scared when it wants you to feel terror, and laugh when it hits its humorous high points. If you're a fan of Resident Evil games, the Evil Dead franchise, or just horror games in general, definitely check out Shadows of the Damned.
Number 5.
Castlevania Circle of the Moon is a game that I myself have always overlooked, and boy did I regret it. I've always been a huge fan of the Castlevania games, but pretty much didn't play any of the games between Castlevania 64 and Shadows of the Damned. That is a lot of games I missed out on. A lot of them have great reputations that I've heard about, like the Sorrow Duo, Order of Ecclesia, and Portrait of Ruin. But the one game I never heard anything about was Circle of the Moon, and when I played it for the first time ever live on stream, I enjoyed it so much I beat it in 2 days. Everything about this game is so well done. It's a good cross between Symphony of the Night and the classic Castlevania games. It has a nice Castlevania difficulty while still offering the ability for upgrades and abilities. The castle is so well designed, and the story, while being fairly cliche, is really well told, constantly driving you forward. There are so many variations of power-ups, buffs, and abilities in this game, some of which you may not even get in your first playthrough, making everyone's playthrough a little unique. If you like exploration, 2D platforming, and great boss fights, be sure to check this game out.
Number 4.
Sleeping Dogs is a game that I can't recommend enough. If you're a fan of the Yakuza series, Grand Theft Auto, or just Kung Fu movies, this game will be right up your alley. In Sleeping Dogs, you play as an undercover cop who's infiltrated the Triads to take down a piece of shit named Dog Eyes, who he's got a personal vendetta against. In the game, you can explore a massive amount of Hong Kong and complete tons of side quests and meet tons of great characters. My favorite side quests are the ones where you train at the Kung Fu Dojo to increase your combat abilities. Everything in this game flows so well, and the story is just incredible right up until the ending credits. Being one of my favorite PlayStation 3 games of all time, I can't believe how overlooked this game is. You guys all need to stop what you're playing and get you some Sleeping Dogs.
Number 3.
Mega Man and Bass is easily the most underrated game in the Mega Man franchise. So many people are afraid of its difficulty, which is more of a myth than anything. Once you learn the ins and outs of this game, you'll find that it's one of the smoothest playing games in the series, offering tons of different options and variety of play. The best part is that once you're done playing through with one character, you can start up again as the other one for a new experience, as Mega Man and Bass both have different play styles. Mega Man and Bass has one of the best shops, the tightest controls, and the loudest haters out of the entire Mega Man fanbase. If you want to know more about why this game kicks so much ass, Kame Sennin and I did a full video on it called Let's Talk About Mega Man and Bass. Check that out after you're finished watching this one.
Number 2.
Remember, I said at the start that these weren't in order of most to least underrated, but are instead in order of best to worst underrated games. Well, Final Fantasy V definitely isn't as underrated as a lot of the games on this list, but it's most definitely the second best underrated game on this list. Final Fantasy V is probably the funnest game in the Final Fantasy series. It has the best job system outside of maybe Final Fantasy Tactics, 2 exciting worlds to explore, great combat, and a fun cast of characters. This is one of my favorite Final Fantasy games, and despite it not being better than, say, Final Fantasy IV or 9, it's still up there as one of the best. The plot is pretty decent, but nothing to write home about. It's the crystals and the fact that they unlock new job classes for you to learn and try out that really drives you forward throughout this game. If you're looking for a fun, lighthearted JRPG with one of the best job systems around, give this game a play for sure.
Number 1.
And the number 1 best underrated game is Dragon Warrior 7. I could also probably go ahead and say this might also be the most underrated game on this list, as it's a game that almost no one has played. Even in the Dragon Quest community, it seems a majority of the fan base still hasn't gotten around to this one. It's fairly rare on the PlayStation, and you can get the 3DS remake, but it's removed some stuff and streamlined the experience. This is great for someone like me who has already experienced everything the original game had to offer and just wants to blast through it, but to give you an idea of how much the remake has changed, I'll tell you my play times. Dragon Warrior 7 on the PlayStation takes me anywhere from 120 to 140 hours to complete. Dragon Quest 7 on the 3DS took me around 72 hours to complete. Enough comparing to the remake, Dragon Warrior 7 was my favorite game for a really long time. It has an incredibly well done story that weaves throughout time and towns. 7 is the most Dragon Quest-y of Dragon Quest games in my opinion, because every town or village has its own story and peril to be saved from that is really well done and drives you to press on. It's up to you to go to the countries of the past and prevent them from being obliterated by the Demon Lord. Once you've saved a town or country from destruction, you get to come back to the present day to find that this land now exists. You see, at the start of the game, there's only one country, one kingdom in the entire world, and nobody knows or questions why. That's just how it is. And to the people of Esterd Island, always has been. To me, Dragon Warrior 7 is one of the grandest adventures ever experienced in a video game, but gets overlooked in my opinion because of its slow start. For being the slow burn that keeps on giving, Dragon Warrior 7 is the number 1 best underrated game of all time. If you haven't yet, please like and subscribe and follow my Twitch channel. Now let's get to some honorable mentions. If this video were based on which are the most underrated games of all time, you can bet your ass Henry Hatsworth in The Puzzling Adventure would be somewhere near the top. This is a great action platformer paired with Tetris Attack. Basically, Henry is an old adventurer who's after a suit of gold and has to hack, slash, platform, and shoot his way to the bounty. Every time you kill an enemy though, they end up as a block on the bottom screen where you must pair up 3 in a row to fully eliminate them. The cool thing about this game is that you can get some awesome upgrades and special attacks by doing well on the puzzle, which will bail your ass out in the action part of the game. I'm not a big puzzle game guy, but Henry Hatsworth is definitely worth checking out. And the last honorable mention is MAG, or Massive Action Game for the PlayStation 3. Unfortunately, this is a game that can no longer be played. MAG was a massive squad and clan-based first-person shooter game. It was probably the only squad-based first-person shooter game that had to be played realistically. By that I mean you needed to act as a squad and do things like lay down cover fire in order for your teammates to advance on the enemy. None of that Call of Duty bullshit where everyone's running in circles shooting at each other from 5 feet away. MAG was kill or be killed, and the enemy can take you out from a very long distance. The game allowed for matches that had up to 256 players in them. This is a game that I still miss today, and I'm not even a big FPS game guy. Let's hope that maybe the PlayStation 5 can get a sequel or even re-release of this amazing game that nobody played. Thanks a lot for watching, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Again, if you haven't yet, you can really help me out by liking and subscribing, and if you're on Twitch, give me a follow at twitch.tv/dookie03.